Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast, available on all major podcast platforms.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
Hello there, I'm Casualty Chris.
And this is Father Malone.
And we are the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt that aired on HBO from 1989 to 1996. But let's not kid ourselves. This last year it hadn't been great.
Yeah. On each of our podcasts, we do 2 episodes of the television series, and that's all. We do have bonus episodes. You can go back and check them out, but not this time.
The end that we all feared was coming is we're barreling right towards the brick wall.
Yeah.
Yep. So on this episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be taking a look at Season 7, Episode 5 and 6, Horror in the Night and Cold War.
90 seconds and counting.
Let's see. One small stiff a man, one giant... Oh, hello, stargazers. You're just in time. My skeleton crew and I are about to blast off for a little space hacksploration. Care to join us? Good. I hope you're made of the rot stuff, 'cause we'll be heading fright years from terra firma, boldly going where no ghoul has gone before. Hey, pal, watch the suit or you're launch meat. Which is kind of like the man in tonight's tale. He's going places too, except his destination is a little more earthbound. It's a nasty bit of scarodynamics I call horror in the night.
So Horror in the Night is directed by, once again, Russell Mulcahy. It is written by John Harrison. It stars Elizabeth McGovern and James Wilby. And it is about a double-crossing jewelry thief who hides out in a hotel and shenanigans happen in a Tales from the Crypt-esque way. Father Malone.
Yes.
This episode is real bad.
Oh, it's one of the worst ones.
It's an affront to entertainment.
At least we get some gore here, and a little bit of demon fun. But other than that, it represents like everything I hate about the writing on this show. Where so it's a jewelry thief who suggests to his partner that they rip off their boss. Then he doesn't, his partner does. They end up shooting each other. He absconds with the diamonds, ends up in a hotel, a quasi Barton Fink-esque hotel, where this woman is waiting for him, and he doesn't know her, and now there's a time loop where things keep happening, and he keeps waking up from dreams, which I hate. You know, it turns out that 5 years prior, he had shot this woman to death in the hotel, which we learn in like the last 30 seconds from a secondary character who's just sort of, I guess, the narrator. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
You mean the woman he killed that he all of a sudden doesn't magically recognize?
Yeah, like what? I don't get this, man. Like, I mean,
no, you just you don't get it. The main character is an idiot.
Yeah, no.
He's so stupid he forgot the woman that he killed
In the hotel that he killed her in the room. Yeah, and like they don't like it was a. Oh my God. Okay, so this is based on a vault. This is based on a.
Is that a technical term?
Yeah. Vault of Horror number 12, written by Ivan Clapper and drawn by Mad Magazine creator Harvey Kurtzman. I'm going to say this is liberally adapted. The original comic did take place in a hotel, but it was a scenario where a woman shows up in the middle of the night needing a room, and some odd things occur, and it turns out that she was a ghost who checks into the hotel like on the anniversary of her death, like she was killed nearby or something. So it was just a nice little ghost story. And what I've noticed on Tales from the Crypt, the television series in particular, anytime you take an a story like that, where it's sort of simple, the answer for the writers of the show always seemed to be, and now let's add crime. They do it in this one, and they do it in the next one that we're going to talk about, Cold War, which I can't figure out. Does it somehow make, in their minds, the episode more exciting, that there's going to be a little bit of gunplay? Because that's the only thing I can think of, other than the fact that this is mid-'90s, and the entire world was ruled by cool-talking gangsters, thanks to Quentin Tarantino. So, because
I think you answered your own question, because in the next episode, we get a bullshit Quentin Tarantino-esque homage to Pulp Fiction, and in this episode, it's a little bit like Reservoir Dum-Dums is what it is.
Yeah, man, like exactly like these, tough talking guys and just whatever. But like, as I said, freely adapted. This is so insulting an episode in that we're not privy to any of this character's life or relationships with anyone. It's just him through a random assortment of scenes of different horrors, I guess. Like, when I don't know anything about this guy or his situation or whatever, like, having the walls start to bleed isn't... I mean, look, if it was happening in my house, yeah, I'd be freaked out, but, like, watching this show... And
what about the walls of the 53rd Precinct?
Oh, we're bleeding.
I can't help but say it when you say it. Like, I don't know. That's the only thing it conjures up. It's not conjuring up this episode.
Yeah, the mention of that in that film is scarier than the presentation of it in this one. And Elizabeth McGovern, who was a good actress, is just kind of wasted here. I don't know why she's across the pond doing. Maybe she was working in England at the time, and they sort of roped her in. I don't know. Like, it's... And the other thing is, it's like ordinarily you would set up in the beginning the comeuppance in the end. In the beginning, he's just doing his job, makes a suggestion that they do this other thing, but then doesn't do it himself. So he gets double-crossed, and then he has to pay, but he has to pay for a whole other crime that we're not privy to until the last moments. I do not get this. Just on a storytelling level, it's like such a massive failure.
Yes. When I 100% agree with you. It is, for me, I think the biggest disappointment is, again, it really comes back to this really disappointing idea that the show just doesn't feel like it cares anymore. And, like, I'm inclined to believe that that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, like, Chris, tell me, do you not feel like these are scripts that were just left over from previous seasons? Like,
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not gonna. You will get no argument out of me regarding whether or not these are essentially passed over scripts that other people didn't want to have anything to do with, because that's totally what's going on here.
At first, having not seen this season in its entirety before, I thought there might be a chance that they thought they weren't getting another season and then wrote one anyway, or wrote one hastily. But yeah, I think this is the absolute certainty here that these are just scripts that were too below par to include in previous seasons, and now they're like, oh geez, we got to do something. Let's just trot these out and put a gloss of England over it.
Well, that, and the other issue is it really just feels like they've given up, like a complete just I don't care anymore. We don't care anymore. Nobody cares. Let's just, like, we're contractually obligated as producers of the show to get one more season out. So here it is. And at the end of the day, we're fulfilling our contractual obligation, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a massive disappointment because the level that we have fallen from the man who was death to this absolute fucking nightmare of an episode. I mean, there is nothing redeeming about this episode. Period.
Yeah, I'm not sure I don't know what it was trying to say. I don't know what it exists for. I don't know who thought this was in any way, shape, or form entertaining. It just kind of shows up and then leaves. It's, I don't feel one way or another about myself or about being told a good story.
It doesn't address anything. It doesn't ask us anything. It doesn't do anything of value. It is such a disappointment. I mean, again, it's not like I had high hopes. Again, we're at episode 5 of the 7th season. At this point, my expectations are so low, they're subterranean. So
yeah, I'm going to go ahead here and say skip.
And that's where this episode could go. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. This episode can go in the trash because it is that bad. Like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Let's talk about the next episode.
Relationships aren't about who's right or wrong. Look, do you remember how you felt about each other when you were newlybleds? Do you want to feel the same way you felt at your marriage ceremony? Good. Then let go of what you find irritating about each other before it grows too far. Which is the kind of advice the young couple in tonight's tale should take. They're fiends and lovers whose relationship is clot between a rock and a horrid place. I call this one Cold War.
So Cold War is directed by Andrew Morahan, but uncredited Robin Bextor. It's written by, once again, Scott Nimmerfro, and it stars Ewan McGregor. Because you were right, we had talked about this episode a little bit before we had recorded, and you said there are a lot of hard R's, and boy, there are a lot of hard R's. Ewan McGregor.
Aren't there?
It also stars aren't there. It also stars Jane Horrocks and Colin Salmon, I bet is how you pronounce it. And, it's about a crime couple who run into Colin Salmon's character. And, he's a vampire and they're zombies. And, once again, it's really stupid.
Yeah, and, even more so than the previous episode, this is kind of more insulting because of the talent on screen. Ewan McGregor, everyone knows him. Jane Horrocks, who was for years on Absolutely Fabulous as a character named Bubble, she was really good. Everyone knows Salomon probably from that first Resident Evil movie thanks to a laser grid.
He's also in the Pierce Brosnan James Bond film.
Oh, yeah, that's true. This is shockingly based on a Tales from the Crypt story, Tales from the Crypt number 43, written by Carl Wessler and drawn by the always incredible Jack Kamen. Like I mentioned in the last one, here we have a simple story. It's about a husband who notices that his wife has a suitor, and the suitor intends to kill the husband, and before he lets the guy shoot him, the husband tells him the story of how he met the wife and how they fell in love, and it involves him going to this old dark house where her family is, and he discovers that they're zombies, and that in order for him to continue to love their daughter, he has to die. Which he says no to and tries to run, but they've actually poisoned him with strychnine. And the new suitor doesn't believe the story, and he shoots him a bunch of times, proving that he's a zombie. And now the husband says, you know what, I've had enough of her, you can have her, and makes the guy a zombie. So instead, when we've got to update it, let's make it the lamest Tarantino knockoff possible, and have the suitor show up 3/4 of the way through, and now, twist! He's a vampire. What? I mean, nobody cares.
But there's a fake out because you think Ewan McGregor's character is actually a racist.
Yeah, right. You don't want to mess with his kind.
Get it? Because it's because he's a vampire.
And he's an American living in England, so he doesn't really understand the terminology. But I noticed at the end when he's talking about when they're clearing up the racism question, he does say there's only 2 kinds of people that rate. Which is a very English thing to say. It's like the script itself is wildly inconsistent. But yeah, Ewan McGregor does stick to his terrible American accent throughout, and bravo for the fortitude, but Jesus, don't do an American accent anymore. You're really bad at it.
Excuse me, what are you doing? My name is Ewan McGregor. It's the least worst part of this episode. There's so many other problems, namely the fact that, again, what is the point of telling this story? What is this story's point, right? I mean, is it meant to be entertaining? Because it's not. Is it meant to be scary? Well, it's not. Is it meant to be ironic and funny? Well, it's not. It's nothing. Again, it's an episode without purpose. The story that it's telling is not inherently interesting. There are no stakes. And at the end of the day, the twist that, Colin Salmon's character is a vampire and they're zombies, that's not a twist. That's just... who cares? I mean, that's incidental to the episode's progression, because we don't even know what happens to his fucking character, by the way.
Right, they all go out the window. I assume that they went out in the daylight, so they survived and he didn't, but not like they attempted in any way to make anything clear. And I gotta say, the makeup on Ewan McGregor at the end would be really good if, like, a friend did it and you saw him at a Halloween party. But for a Tales from the Crypt episode, this obvious, like, latex appliance supposed to be approximating his mouth, and then
underneath his nose.
Yeah, and then they give him lines of dialogue to say, and you can see his actual mouth, like, moving underneath the appliance. It was so sloppy and dumb.
Yeah, there's an angle where you can see, like, the actual, like, appliance, like, patched onto his nose.
Yeah,
and it is
not big on
just
blending.
Awful.
Yeah.
No. Again, there is this sentiment about the 7th season of the show that it is a complete waste of time and that there is nothing to any of these episodes. I mean, I'm not the first person and the last person to say this. There is not some sort of grand, love for this season of the show, and we're seeing why. It's yesterday's leftovers reheated twice. I mean, it's the biggest waste. This season has been the biggest waste of time. I can't even imagine how in God's name anyone worked on this season of the show and said, "Yeah, this is good. This is quality content."
Yeah.
And I don't want to rag on this show. We love this show. We wouldn't be doing this if we hated this show. We're not, how did this get made? We're not here to shit all over everything and then chortle our way to the bank. We're genuine fans of this show. And it is a fucking shame that this show is going down the tubes so quickly. It's almost like they expedited the process of quality just completely falling apart.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I am in no way reveling in the dreary state of this television series. Like, I'm very disappointed is a euphemistic term for it. I'm baffled by how bad it got. And I've said I didn't watch the season 7 at the time it aired, but that was basically because I didn't have cable television at the time, because I was an avid fan of the show. So I had been holding out hope that it was my fault in not watching it, and not that maybe the quality was going to rise up. But good Lord, like, we reviewed the first couple of episodes, I said, well, I don't think it's the worst. I think it's pretty on par with the previous season, but that is absolutely not the case. The level of quality has dropped precipitously, and it feels really sad to think that nobody was giving a shit. They were all just sort of cashing paychecks at this point.
Well, that's what it feels like, and that outcome shows on screen.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't just copy Quentin Tarantino and expect that that's good enough.
Yeah, it's so dumb. And, like, whatever anyone has to say about Tarantino, like, the dialogue crackles, and this is just aping it, but, like, it's so, I don't know, it's so juvenile. Just, like, lots of fucks and ass bag, like, oh my God, like, yeah, good. That's on par.
Well, and don't forget that awesome scene where Quentin Tarantino is purely ripped off just because they can, where you have two characters dancing, very Uma and Travolta-esque. They're almost dancing like Uma Thurman, one might say.
Boy. And, look, on a purely technical level, storytelling-wise, okay, so she's a zombie. They have to be cold-blooded, right? They're dead. So anytime she would come in contact with a human, she would feel the heat off of them. Same with the vampire. These two characters encounter each other. They kind of hint at it almost, where when he kisses her for the first time, he kind of gives her a look like, something's wrong with this one. But, like, wouldn't they both just recognize it? Like, you're clearly not a human.
They would recognize it if they were in the bathroom together and she didn't see his fucking reflection.
Yeah, how about that? Like,
which they were, by the way.
So dumb. I don't know. Hey, how about this? Skip this one. Skip both of these episodes.
Oh, yeah. Not only skip, pretend that you've never even heard of it.
I mean, look, if you want to see Ewan McGregor as a young actor, watch Shallow Grave.
I guarantee you he was cast in this because of Shallow Grave.
Oh, no doubt. I don't even really like that movie, but at least he's not doing this fucking accent.
No, he's putting his best foot forward in that movie, and in this movie, everyone's feet are tied together and no one is able to move an inch forward without them all falling down flat on their faces. It's a fucking shame. Because, again, it's not because of the talent of the actors involved. We know that for a fact. So,
yeah.
What is it? Well, it's a misplaced sense of, I don't know, it's like this misplaced sense of the story that you're telling is somehow important. I hate to break it to everyone, but the problems with this episode go straight to the script. That's hard stop. That's the problem. Everything else is perfectly fine or perfectly serviceable.
Yeah, exactly. The direction on both of these episodes is just fine. Like, if there had been an interesting story going on, then, you know, it could have at least been passable. But, like, the writing drags down everything else.
And, look, you know, we've talked a lot about Scott Nimmerfro, and, you know, I didn't ask you to do this podcast because you were friends with Scott Nimmerfro when he was alive.
Yeah.
That just happened to be something that we found out, or I found out long after the fact when we got to our first Scott Nimmerfro episode. But, I mean, I have to ask you, like, you know, it just, like, what do you think was going on? I mean, you knew him better than, you knew him better than I did, and you knew him rather well from what I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, can you even begin to kind of piece together in your head what may have been going on to lead to these, like, really, they feel very lazy scripts.
Yeah, I think in Scott's situation, I think he really cared early on, and by the end was looking to get out. I'm sure I told you in the past, like, the reason those X-Men movies got made is because Scott, as far as who he was tight with producing-wise, it was Richard Donner and his wife Lauren Schuler Donner. And he was the one who brought Lauren Schuler Donner, like, the X-Men thing. And that was picking up around, I mean, I know he didn't get a movie till 2000, but, you know, scripts were being written as far back as, like, 93. And I think he thought that was his out, but was not the case.
Well, and he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, you know, and...
I mean, he wasn't wrong. X-Men was his out.
Yeah, eventually. But he ended up with, you know, look, like, getting a writing gig is hard in Hollywood, and this was sort of a steady paycheck, but it seems as everyone stopped caring, so did he. And I've always said, like, you know, he did better work later, particularly on the television series Hannibal.
And Tron Uprising, for that matter.
Yeah, like, you know, I think he was a good writer. It's just that this was not his love, horror and horror comics. And you actually, I think you kind of need somebody who loves the whole medium in order to make a good show. I mean, can you write a love song if you're not in love? But, like, probably not.
Well, and again, it's like, I don't want to drink a cocktail mixed by someone who doesn't drink alcohol. Like, will not take your opinion seriously, because how can you deftly do anything if you refuse to have any interest in the thing that you're doing or talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You're not, your heart's not going to be in it, and that comes across on screen. It really does.
Yep, and so that's where we're at now. Nobody caring, including us.
And yeah, to your point, Scott Nimmerfro worked on one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Hannibal, and he wrote amazing episodes of that show. Not ironically, they're actually really good. And that is a horror-based show. I mean, again, that's a psychological horror show, you know.
Right, but that's more in keeping with what his attitude was.
Sure. Oh, I 100% agree
and,
with you.
You know, it seemed to me that the way he dealt with the comic book sort of horror was to kind of lean into the comedy of it. And that was a huge mistake, because he was not... Now, I'm not saying he wasn't a funny guy, but he was not a gifted comedic writer. So, pulling off a show like this is hard anyway, never mind in the hands of somebody who doesn't quite understand it.
Oh, for sure. And again, if your heart's not in the right place and you're looking at this as a stepping stone, not a legitimate career, pinpoint in your career, hey, it comes across on screen.
That's what we get. We get season 7. Seasons 5, 6, and 7, but 7 in particular. Jesus H. Christ. I mean, look, like I think at that point he was clearly doing what he could with the detritus of the previous seasons, but, you can't polish a turd, as they say.
No, you cannot. So speaking of polishing turds, I think we're both saying skip these last 2 episodes. On the next episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be talking about season 7, episodes 7 and 8, The Kidnapper and Report from the Grave.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be good.
No.
But until then, where can people find you, Father Malone?
You can check me out over at fathermalone.com. You can hear my podcast, Dark Destinations. It is a radio drama travelogue where our characters travel to infamous fictional towns. You can also hear me over on Dreams for Sale, the Twilight Zone 85 podcast that Chris and I also do together with our friend in Detroit, our man on the street, Mr. Mike White.
And as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus. I have gone and changed my Twitter handle because, hey, Casualty Chris, shockingly, is not a particularly on-point idea during the middle of a global pandemic. Yes, we're in a pandemic, and no, don't tell me we're not. As for this podcast, you can find it on Twitter at ChroniclesFTC and at ChroniclesFromTheCrypt.com. Big thanks, as always, to our good friend, Mr. John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, for the intro to the podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode, boils and ghouls.